This first photo, this is the last time I ever saw my brother Eric, July 15th, 2005. He was 22, taking a gap year to hike the Cascades, and he sent this to our family's digital photo frame from the trail. 2 days later, he was reported missing. For 18 years, we held searches. We hired psychics. We followed every dead end lead. We finally accepted he must have fallen. Then this summer, a forestry crew mapping for wildfire risks found it. That concrete bunker, not on any map, just 400 yards from where he took this photo. And they found the scratch marks inside. If you've ever had to live with a question mark at the center of your heart, a hole where a person used to be, maybe you'll understand what I'm about to tell you. Let me know in the comments if you too have a story about a loved one that didn't have an ending. My name is Lori. It's 2025. I'm 42 years old, but most days I feel ancient. It's been 20 years since Eric walked onto that trail, and 2 years since we finally found out what happened to him. And I'm here to tell you, the not knowing, it's a special kind of hell. It's a disease that eats you from the inside out. But the knowing, the truth, that's something else entirely. It's not peace. It's just an answer. And sometimes the answer is worse than any question you could have ever imagined. When I look at that first photo, the one of him smiling, his face all sunburned, that giant olive green backpack dwarfing him, I'm not 42. I'm 22 again. I'm standing in the hallway of our parents' house, and Eric and I are fighting. It was such a stupid fight. He had just graduated college and announced he was taking a gap year to go find himself hiking the Pacific Northwest. I was already working, trying to be the responsible one, and I snapped. I called him a cliché. I told him he was wasting time, that running away to the woods wasn't going to solve his problems. He just looked at me with that gentle, infuriating smile and said, "It's not about solving problems, Lori. It's about living." My last words to him. My very last words were, "Whatever, Eric. Don't come calling me when you run out of money." He left 2 days later. I was supposed to go with him. That was the original plan. The siblings hiked the Cascades, but I'd just gotten a promotion at the bank, a junior analyst position I thought was the most important thing in the world. I had a new boyfriend. I had excuses. So I let him go alone. And that guilt, that decision, it has defined every single day of my life since. The call came on July 17th, 2005. A Sunday. A park ranger. Eric's rental car was still at the trailhead parking lot. His permit was 48 hours expired. He was officially a missing hiker. The first few days are a blur. You've seen it on the news. The frantic parents, the command center in a ranger station, the maps with grids and circles. My father, Peter, he's an engineer. He became obsessive. He directed search teams. He argued with the sheriff. He charted weather patterns. My mother, Diana, she just collapsed. She sat in the rental cabin, holding the pillow from Eric's bag, the one he didn't take on the trail, and she just rocked. I was the one who had to be strong. I was the one making phone calls, printing posters, talking to the local news. He's experienced, I'd lie. He wasn't. He was a 22-year-old kid with a brand new backpack and a copy of Into the Wild. After 2 weeks, they scaled back the official search. Survival in these conditions after this long is... It's not likely, Sheriff Frank, the man in charge, then told us. My dad looked him dead in the eye and said, "Then you're looking for a body, so keep looking." But they didn't. Not really. We stayed for 6 more weeks. We hired private search teams. We mortgaged the house. We found nothing. A broken branch here, a footprint that might have been his boot tread there. Nothing. He had vanished. He stepped off that trail and the mountain just swallowed him. The first year was the worst. Or so I thought. The first year is filled with this frantic, toxic hope. Every time the phone rings, your heart stops. Every email from an unknown sender could be him. You half expect him to just walk in the door laughing, saying it was all a big misunderstanding. He lost his pack and had to hike to a different town. The fifth year, the fifth year is when the anger sets in. My dad, Peter, was a ghost. He'd lost his job. His office was the spare room, the walls covered in topographical maps, pinned with string calculations. He was a man trying to solve an unsolvable equation. He spent thousands on psychics. One of them told him Eric was alive, living in a commune in Oregon. My dad drove there. He spent a week sleeping in his car, showing that photo to kids who looked just like Eric, kids with backpacks and empty eyes. He came home hollowed out. My mom, Diana, she just stopped. She stopped talking about him. She stopped crying. She just existed. She kept his room exactly as he left it. The 10th year, 2015. I went back to the trail, alone. I sat at the trailhead where his car had been. I hiked in about a mile. I just wanted to feel, I don't know, close to him. But it was just trees, just dirt. It felt empty. I screamed his name until I was hoarse. Nothing answered but the wind. That was the year I finally accepted it. He fell. A ravine, a hidden crevasse, an animal. He was gone. And we would never, ever know. The years between then and 2023, when we just lived. We got older. My dad had a heart attack. Mom got deep into gardening. I got married. I got divorced. Eric was always there, this 22-year-old ghost at the dinner table. Every birthday, August 10th, we'd have a cake. We wouldn't sing. We'd just light the candles and blow them out. The silence in the room was so loud, it was a physical thing. And then, June 4th, 2023, 18 years, 10 months, and 18 days after he was reported missing, I was at my desk. I'm a branch manager at the bank now. That promotion I thought was so important. My phone buzzed. Whatcom County Sheriff's Dept. My hand started shaking so hard I couldn't hit the accept button. I had to use my knuckle. Ms. Lori, my name is Sheriff Martin. I'm in the position Sheriff Frank held back in 2005. Are you sitting down? I remember saying yes, even though I was standing. Ms. Lori, a U.S. Forestry Service crew, they were doing some wildfire mitigation mapping about 3 miles northeast of the Tanglewood Trailhead. They believe they have located remains, and we found items, identification. We believe it's your brother, Eric. I don't remember the rest of the call. I don't remember driving to my parents' house. I just remember standing on their porch, my mom opening the door, smiling, asking if I was staying for dinner, and me just falling into her arms saying, "They found him. Mom, they found him." The flight to Washington was, I can't even describe it. It wasn't relief. It wasn't sadness. It was dread. It was the end of the story. For 18 years, we had lived in the awful maybe. Maybe he had amnesia. Maybe he ran away. Maybe. Now, maybe was gone. All that was left was, what? Sheriff Martin met us at the station. He was kind, young. He had that look of professional pity. He had Eric's case file on his desk. It was 2 feet thick. My dad's maps were still in it. First, he said, I want to offer my deepest condolences. Your family has lived with this for far too long. My dad, 70 years old and frail, just nodded. What happened? Sheriff Martin took a deep breath. It's complicated. The forestry crew, a man named Thomas and a woman named Brenda, they weren't looking for this. They were using ground-penetrating radar, GPR. They're mapping old-growth root systems, trying to plan fire breaks. They got an anomaly. a void, a perfect rectangle about 15 feet by 10 feet, 6 feet underground. Nature doesn't make rectangles. He continued. They thought it was an old septic tank, maybe an illegal cistern. They got a small backhoe. They dug. They hit concrete. They found what looked like a small rusted ventilation pipe. They called us immediately. My team went out. What they found, it's not on any county map, any military map. It appears to be an old, forgotten bunker, a World War II or maybe a Cold War observation post. Just forgotten. My mom was twisting her wedding ring. But how did Eric... That's the complicated part, Martin said. The main access, a steel hatch, was rusted shut, sealed. It took my team 6 hours with cutting torches to get it open, but that's not how he got in. On the roof, under 2 decades of overgrowth and soil, there was a collapsed grate, a ventilation shaft. Maybe. The grate was just rust and broken iron. The ME's preliminary theory is that he was walking, maybe off trail, maybe to, use the bathroom. He stepped on that grate covered in leaves and dirt, and it just gave way. He fell. He fell. My dad closed his eyes. My mom made a small sound like a bird. He fell about 12 feet, the sheriff said, his voice quiet, onto a concrete floor. The ME found a severe fracture on his left ankle, a compound fracture. He wouldn't have been able to climb out. He wouldn't have been able to walk. He paused, and the air in the room felt like it was being sucked out. The remains were inside, along with his pack. He slid a plastic bag across the table. A clear evidence bag. Inside was Eric's wallet, his driver's license. The laminated plastic was fogged, but it was him, that same goofy, sunburned smile. We need a formal identification, of course, Martin said gently. Dental records. But, Ms. Laurie, Mr. and Mrs. Peter, this is him. We found your son. My dad started to cry. It was the first time I'd seen him cry since 2005. Not tears of sadness. They were something else. Tears of finality. The great, terrible engine of his mind, the one that had been running for 18 years, searching, calculating, hoping, it had just stopped. The next day, I needed to see it. My parents couldn't. They stayed at the hotel. But I had to. Sheriff Martin drove me out. We took his 4x4 up a fire road, and then we hiked. The trail was beautiful. The sun was filtering through the giant pines. It smelled like warm earth and cedar, and I hated it. I hated it for being so peaceful. It's just up here, Martin said, pushing aside a branch. We were only about 400 yards from the main trail. You just couldn't see it. It was in a dip, a small hollow, and so covered in ivy and moss, it just looked like a green hill. And then I saw it. The second photo. The one you see. It was horrible. A black, stained concrete face, half buried in the hillside. The ivy was thick, but the sheriff's team had cut a path. And there, the window. A concrete embrasure. Maybe for a machine gun with thick, rusted iron bars. Bars. He fell through the roof, Martin said, pointing up. The team's up there now, documenting the entry point. I just stared at the window. The bars. Sheriff, I whispered, my throat dry. He was in there. Yes, ma'am. And the window, he would have been able to see out. Yes, but as you can see, the growth is incredibly thick. And this hollow, it dampens sound. Even if he yelled, I felt sick. I backed away, stumbling over a root. I sat down hard on the damp ground. Martin just stood there, giving me a moment. There's something else, he said after a long silence. He didn't want to say it. What? The coroner. He found the contents of the pack spread out, and on the wall, inside, right by that window, there were markings. Markings? Scratches in the concrete. It looks like he used a rock or something from his pack. Ms. Laurie, though, they look like a calendar. I don't know how to explain what that did to me. The idea of him falling, breaking his ankle, dying quickly, that was a tragedy. But a calendar means time. A calendar means hope. Can I see? I asked. My voice didn't sound like mine. The site it's a biohazard, ma'am. But I have the photos. He pulled out his phone. He showed me. The wall was damp, black with mold, and there, etched into the concrete, were the marks. Groups of 5, 4 vertical lines, 1 horizontal line crossing them out, just like you see in prison movies. I counted them, my fingers shaking on the screen. 1, 2, 3, 4 groups. That's 20. And then a 5th group, 25. And then 3 single vertical lines, 28, 28. Marks, 28. Days. He sent the photo, I whispered, the dates flying through my head. He sent the photo on July 15th. He was reported missing on the 17th. The search, the big search, it started on the 18th. 28 days. He was alive in that box until the middle of August. He was alive for 4 whole weeks. Sheriff Martin just looked at the ground. His Nalgene bottle was empty. All his food wrappers were in a neat pile. He was trying, Ms. Laurie. He was trying to survive. I went back to the hotel. I couldn't speak. I showed my parents the photo of the marks. My mom just laid down on the bed. She turned to the wall, and she didn't get up for the rest of the day. My dad, he just stared at it, his engineer's mind, counting. 28, he said. Laurie, the main search, it was called off after 14 days. We left. We went home at the end of July. He was alive. He was still alive after we left. That night, I couldn't sleep. I was staring at the hotel ceiling, just seeing those marks. And something was bothering me. The coroner's report, the inventory. I pulled up the email Sheriff Martin had sent me. Item 1, 1 green Nalgene bottle, empty. I remember buying him that. Item 2, 1 pack olive green. Item 3, wallet containing $42 and 1 student ID. Item 4, assorted empty food wrappers. Item 5, 1 handheld mirror, glass broken. A mirror. Why a mirror? And then it hit me like a physical punch. When we were kids, we had a tree house, and we thought we were spies. We had this little game. We used a handheld mirror, my mom's old compact, to signal, to flash sunlight at each other. 1 flash, all clear. 2 flashes, danger. It was our code. He had a mirror. He was at that window. He was at those bars. For 28 days, he was flashing that mirror. He was trying to signal. He was trying to catch the sun, to bounce a beam of light through the trees. hoping, praying that a searcher would see it, and the glass was broken. Did he break it in frustration, or did he break it at the end? I got out of bed. It was 3 a.m. I turned on my laptop. I went to the Whatcom County Archives, the local newspaper. I searched. Tanglewood Search, July 2005. I found the articles, the maps, the search grid maps. My dad, he had copies of these. They were seared into my brain. Grid C4, grid C5. I pulled up the coroner's report, the exact GPS coordinates of the bunker. I put them side by side. The bunker was in grid C4, and I found the search log. It was public record, the daily briefing, July 21st, 2005, day 4 of the search. Team Bravo assigned to grid C4, heavy brush, no sign, moving to C5. They were right there. Team Bravo, they walked right past. He was in there. It was day 3, maybe day 4 of his calendar. He was alive. He would have heard them. He would have been screaming. He would have been at those bars, banging his Nalgene bottle, flashing that mirror, his throat raw, heavy brush, no sign, moving to C5. They walked away, and he was left alone in the dark with his broken ankle. He watched, he heard his rescue walk away, and he stayed alive for 24 more days. He kept marking that wall, hoping they would come back. They never came back. It's 2025. It's been 2 years since we brought him home. What was left? We had a funeral. We buried an empty casket almost. We had a service. We read the poems he liked. My dad, he took down the maps. His office is just a guest room now. He sits on the porch. He watches my mom's garden. He doesn't talk much, but he's present. The engine is off. My mom, she finally packed up his room. She put his things, his posters, his guitar, his books, into boxes. It wasn't an act of giving up. It felt like she was finally letting him rest. And me, I have that photo, the selfie. It's on my desk. And next to it, I have the photo of the bunker. I go back there once a year. I've cleared the brush from the window. I leave a flower. The truth, it didn't set me free. It didn't bring me peace. It chained me to a different wall. The guilt, it's not the same guilt. It's not the I shouldn't have let him go. It's not the I should have gone with him. It's the guilt of knowing he died alone. He died listening. He died hoping. The not knowing was a fog. The knowing that it's a cold, hard, unmovable thing, a concrete bunker buried in the woods. I don't know what justice means. The mountain didn't murder him. The rust, the concrete, they're not evil. It was just physics and time and just awful, awful luck. But he marked the wall. He left a record. He was here. He fought. For 28 days he fought. And that's the story I have to carry. If you were me, if you were the one who had to count those marks, what would you have done? What would you What could you all even do? Subscribe if you believe that every truth, no matter how long it's buried, eventually surfaces.